So everyone's talking about the big and exciting fight between Naoya Inoue and Stephen Fulton. Now, I've made my early prediction for this fight, and I plan to make a new prediction video closer to the fight. However, I want to give a detailed description on why I am picking Naoya Inoue to beat Stephen Fulton. Not how I'm picking him to win, because I've already gone over how I'm picking him to win, but why I'm favoring Inoue. Now, there is multiple separate reasons. I want to start off with the fact that Naoya Inoue is much more experienced than Stephen Fulton. Now, when you look at their professional records, people say to me, not really, right? 25-0 versus 21-0. Technically, that's not much of a difference, right? And when you look at amateur records, it's very similar. I don't remember their exact records, but they both have similar amount of fights. However, experience isn't necessarily the amount of fights you have, but more who you fought and the experiences you've had. Naoya Inoue has fought much tougher opposition throughout his career. Not prime, but dominant champion in Nonito Donaire, who was looking spectacular, and first ballot Hall of Famer, and the biggest guy in the weight class virtually. I do consider still better than someone like Figueroa or Roman. But the quantity. Naoya Inoue has been a champion in 3 weight classes. He's been an undisputed champion. He's fought multiple separate champions, and I believe he has, 19 title fights? 19 title fights opposed to what? Stephen Fulton's 3 or 4? He won his belt against Leo and defended it twice since then. He's had 3 title fights, 2 title defenses, and has fought 2 champions in his career. Now, Naoya Inoue's had 19 title fights. Naoya Inoue has won belts in as many divisions as Stephen Fulton has had title fights. He's won belts in 3 divisions. Stephen Fulton's had 3 title fights in his career. That should tell you all you need to know when it comes to their experience. I can go on and on, but I've already made it obvious. Naoya Inoue is the more experienced of the two. The next thing I want to bring up between the two is I believe that Naoya Inoue made 118 somewhat comfortably. I mean, he made it on the dot against Desmarinas, DePayan, and Donaire in the rematch at 118 on the dot, and in the first fight with Donaire. So he's kind of been barely making 118. He hasn't been super comfortable at the weight class when it comes to weight. However, he still looked very good and looked very sharp. However, I do believe when he moves up to 122, I know it sounds like it's only 4 pounds, but when you're that light in weight, 4 pounds is a big difference. And Naoya Inoue is going to be much more hydrated and much more comfortable against Stephen Fulton, who, in my opinion, will probably be having issues making weight as he is naturally very big for 122 and has been fighting at 122 for a long time. So you've got a guy who's going to be fully hydrated, first time at 122, but very hydrated in Naoya Inoue, versus a guy who's struggling to make weight, most likely, who's a couple fights away from moving up. Don't forget, they were supposed to make Fulton Figueroa 2 at 126 for the vacant WBC. That was the plan, but it fell through. But Fulton was expected to move up in weight, but those plans got deflated, and he's staying at 122, but he has to make that weight class one more time. The third reason I'm picking Naoya Inoue, and I also want to let you guys know that these reasons don't really have too much to do with how they fight, because I've already made my prediction video and broken down the reasons why I'm picking Inoue when it comes to their fight styles and how the fight would play out. If you want to check that video out, it's in the description below. The third reason I'm picking Naoya Inoue, not off of how they fight, but off of other factors, is where the location is. This fight's in Japan. It's in Inoue's backyard. Stephen Fulton, his entire career, when you look at all of his professional fights, has never fought outside of America, let alone all the way in Asia, in Japan. This will be his first fight in Japan, and I do think Fulton will rise to the occasion and fight very well on the road. However, that doesn't mean he's going to get a victory. Naoya Inoue has fought every fight in his career except for 2, 3, or... He's had a couple fights outside of Japan. I mean, he had a few fights in America, a fight in the United Kingdom. But aside from those, he's fought virtually every fight he's had in Japan, and he's looked very comfortable. Obviously, he's looked very dominant, as we've seen. This fight being in Japan is another factor. So that's the third reason I'm picking Naoya Inoue. The first reason, as I said before, was that Inoue has more experience. The second reason was how Inoue would be hydrated while Fulton would be slightly dehydrated. And the third reason that I mentioned so far is the location of the fight. The fight being in Japan definitely benefits Inoue for sure. Fourth factor I want to mention, and this factor is more minor, but it still needs to be brought up, ring activity. Now, I'm not going to say Naoya Inoue is the most active fighter in the sport, but he is relatively active. I mean, he fought twice in 2021, twice in 2022. His last fight was December 13th. By the time this fight happens, it'll be a little under 5 months. That's a perfect amount of time for a fighter to return back. I mean, obviously, ideally it'd be 3 to 4 months, but that's very rare in boxing. So 5-month layoff is not bad at all for Naoya Inoue. When it comes to Stephen Fulton, this guy has been relatively inactive. When you look at his career, I mean, yes, he fought twice in 2021. He fought once in 2022, all the way back in June. And by the time the Inoue fight happens, it will be 11 months since Stephen Fulton's last fight. He's been much less active than Naoya Inoue. And when you're someone like Stephen Fulton who relies more on reflexes and athleticism, that can play a part. So the fourth reason is activity. As you see, Stephen Fulton does have an uphill battle in this fight. He's a very live dog. He's a very good fighter. But there's so many reasons to pick Naoya Inoue. I haven't even told you the real reasons that I'm picking him, such as the way the fight will play out, stylistically, and just Inoue as a fighter. As I said, that's all my prediction video. But these are extra factors that are making me so confident in picking Naoya Inoue. Now, is Stephen Fulton a live dog? Yes. There's a reason that I'm really looking forward to this fight. And it's such a built-up matchup. This is a great fight. Stephen Fulton's a tremendous fighter. And if he does win this fight, I'll tell you right now, I won't be that surprised. I really won't be. I think there's a very good chance he wins. However, I am picking Inoue. I believe Inoue's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. Stephen Fulton, as good of a fighter as he is, there's a few issues in his game that are making me uncomfortable in picking him. Now, this is going to be a great fight. There's so many ways it can play out, but my final prediction is Naoya Inoue by a late-round knockout or a decision. Don't be surprised if it goes to full 12. But that's my final prediction. Thank you guys for watching. Here's my reasoning for picking Naoya Inoue. Stephen Fulton, as I said, has a very good chance. He has a good jab. He's quick. He's elusive. I believe Stephen Fulton's actually very mentally durable and has a very strong mindset. And I don't see him being able to get broken down like other fighters against Inoue. This is a guy who stays cool, calm, and collected in all of his fights. He didn't crumble to Brandon Figueroa's pressure or work rate or endurance. He outfought Angelo Leo with his own game. He outclassed Daniel Roman, who was too sharp for him. He's been on a tear, but the first reason, experience, is going to be very noticeable in this fight. Stephen Fulton's only been on the scene, truly, and I mean truly on the scene, since January 2021. Naoya Inoue's career has been paid attention to for years, and he's been on the scene for a very long time. I could definitely see him losing, but when I look at Fulton, I believe he needs more time before fighting Inoue. If he was able to get that Figueroa rematch at 122 and beat him maybe a little more convincingly, that might have been better preparation. But what he's had as of late in the nearly year layoff, it's going to be an uphill battle for Stephen Fulton for sure. And this also being his first fight out of America, it could benefit him. I see him rising to the occasion because of that, but it could also be a fault of him. I'm trying to think of a fifth reason. I'm not even going to lie to you guys, to everyone watching. I'm trying to make it a perfect 5, but honestly, I believe those are the only 4 true reasons why I'm picking Naoya Inoue to win this fight. It's going to be a great fight, though. I'm looking forward to it. Make sure to check it out. Best fight in boxing that's been set, arguably. Thank you guys for watching. That's all I got to say. God bless, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you guys later. Peace.